It's time to fix your NFL team. We got 3 teams that we're going to try and fix with the NFL draft right here on Locked On NFL Draft. Let's go.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. Welcome into Locked On NFL Draft. It's former NFL, AFL defensive back Eric Crocker. You can follow him on Twitter at Eric_Crocker, and you can go to Twitter and talk to him. Do not go to Twitter and talk to my man Ryan Tracy. He's kind of he's shutting it down after Sunday night's 27-24 game that happened in Cincinnati. But you can follow him on Twitter anyways at Ryan Tracy NFL, NFL33.com, and from Rogue Analytics. I'm John Harris, football analyst, sideline reporter, Houston Texans, also owner-operator of footballtakeover.com. And we're going to try and take these Wednesday shows and fix your team. Not maybe like our team, maybe not your exact team, but fix one of the teams in the league. And we'll try and fix all 32 by the end of the draft season. And obviously things are going to change. There's free agency. There's all kinds of things that are going to happen. But we're going to try and fix your team as best we possibly can. So this evening we picked 3 teams that are in the divisions of teams that we cover. Eric covers the 49ers. You can check him out at Locked On 49ers. Ryan covers the Chiefs at Locked On Chiefs. And like I said, I work for the Texans. So we went NFC West, AFC West, and then the AFC South. So we're going to start by fixing the Seattle Seahawks. I think we would all 3 of us agree that the Seahawks are well ahead where anybody thought they were going to be. And Geno Smith has done a whale of a job. But Eric Crocker, we got to fix the Seahawks. The good news is we got a couple of first-round picks to be able to do it. I think we thought that the Seattle pick would be in the top 5, top 7, and the Denver pick would probably be in the playoff range in the 20s. Well, it's been completely flipped, but they still have 2 picks in the first round. They've got 9 overall right now for 2023. If we're going to fix the Seattle Seahawks, Eric, what's the first thing that we need to be able to do, and where do you think the Seahawks should be looking with those 2 particular picks?
So the Broncos continue to lose because of the trade to Russell Wilson. Obviously, the Seahawks own that pick. If I'm them, I'm actually hoping that quarterbacks go first so I can go and get Will Anderson. I want that guy that's going to be that bookend, that guy that I can continue to build around. You just drafted a corner. He's doing terrific, and Tariq Woolen got him in the 5th round. You got running backs. You got receivers. You have Geno Smith, who's kind of somehow revitalized his career. He's playing well, just threw a game-winning touchdown against the Rams Sunday evening. So you have a lot of pieces there. I don't think I go quarterback in this draft. I think I continue to just build some guys that are going to be with this team for a long time and not hitch the entire future to a young quarterback. So Will Anderson, I think that's where I go first and foremost, especially after the draft class they just had.
Okay, Ryan Tracy, I think that's absolutely in play because Chicago right now is sitting at 2 at 3-10. And for those of you that have an under Chicago Bears bet, you need them to continue to be 3-14 at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying who's got one. I just know people. That said, let's say Seattle does stay at 3 or Denver stays at 3 and Seattle's got that pick.
Yeah.
Let's say Houston does go quarterback. Somebody trades into number 2 and also looks at a quarterback, just knowing they got to get up there to get a quarterback in front of Seattle. Not that Seattle would take one. So you have the choice of Will Anderson Jr. or Jalen Carter for the Seahawks. Which one would you take?
You take a look at what they do, and no matter what the future holds, I think you have to feel like the edge rusher in Will Anderson can do anything you ask. He can play in a 4-man front, rush off the edge. He can play outside linebacker. I think what we've seen this season in a little bit less aggression has been a little bit more versatility as well. I think that makes you feel like that's probably the safer pick in terms of comparable talent with a guy that you know you can make fit.
You look on the outside for the Seahawks right now. Darrell Taylor was a second-round pick back in 20. They drafted Boy Mafe in the second round last year. Uchenna Nwosu has had some good moments with them. They don't really have a guy on the outside. But on the inside, Poona Ford, Al Woods, Shelby Harris, I mean, get it done. You know, some grinder types. Man, Jalen Carter would look good. Second pick. The second pick of the first round. I mean, obviously, you look at the offensive talent, man. They loaded up, and they're loaded at the skill positions, Eric said. They've got their 2 tackles for the next, I don't know how many ever years. I mean,
5
they're
to 10 years.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they've got Cross at left, Abe Lucas at right. I mean, they are ready to go. So I'm going to throw one at you for the Seattle Seahawks. They did trade for Noah Fant. But what if Michael Mayer is there at pick number 20, 21, depending on where they might pick with their own pick because they're 7-5 right now? What about Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame, and how would that fit in Seattle with Noah Fant already there, but you draft the best tight end and you get him down in the 20s? Ryan Tracy, your thoughts about how that would fit in Seattle?
I mean, I think that we've seen Geno do pretty well. I'm glad for him, but you can't see him as the long-term solution. So eventually you have to going to go young. What's a young quarterback's favorite hobby? Throw to your tight ends. I think Fant obviously hasn't lived up to expectation, but if you can get into 12 personnel, if you can run the ball with Kenneth Walker a little bit more, I think that sets you up for success no matter who's the signal caller. So I like that play.
Eric, I'm going to pitch a different one at you. It's a guy that you and I have talked about from Penn State. Joey Porter Jr., Seattle looks at with that second pick. You've already got Tariq Woolen. He's done some good things. They've used Kobe Bryant in different situations, inside and out. And now you add Joey Porter Jr. to that cornerback mix for the Seahawks. You do have to face Matt Stafford twice a year. You do have to face Kyler Murray, I think, 2 times a year. And then you got to face Trey Lance, Garoppolo, Purdy 2 times a year. I don't know how that one's going to work out. But thoughts of Joey Porter Jr. possibly being that second pick down in the 20s to play corner for the Seahawks?
Yeah, definitely. You know, right now they are, working things out with Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson came from Dallas Cowboys. He's played for several teams now. Having a guy like Tariq Woolen and being able to build around him. You talked about Kobe Bryant, what he brings, but again, he's played some nickel, he's played some different spots. Having a guy like Joey Porter to play opposite Tariq Woolen, come on, man, that's difficult. That's not something the 49ers want to see. So, yeah, I like that, and I think that's the best-case scenario. You load up on that defense. Right now, this is a team that's 7-5, but you continue to kind of build there. I mean, the sky's the limit for what they could be, and if anyone can get the most out of that caliber of a team, it's definitely Pete Carroll.
Yeah, no doubt. It's exciting in some sense to watch from afar what Seattle's been able to do. When Seattle was absolutely torched this summer for the trade of Russell Wilson, the team that traded for Russell Wilson is the Denver Broncos. We will fix them. Oh, boy. That's a matzo ball. We'll fix them next right here on Locked On NFL Draft. But we got to talk about Turo, the world's largest car-sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want, anywhere you want it, from a community of local hosts. Doesn't matter whether you're in Burlington, North Carolina, you're in Houston, Texas, you're in Denver, Colorado, or you're up in Bangor, Maine. If there's a host there, and they're on Turo.com, you're in. You browse a loud, huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget. SUV, minivan, get that luxury car, find affordable economy cars to get you from point A to point B. Maybe you want that electric vehicle. Maybe that's the way you roll. Either way, however you do it, many Turo hosts are there ready for you, and they can even deliver the car right to you. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Forget boring rental cars. Find your drive and find your host at Turo, Turo.com. Thank you for making NFL Draft, Locked On NFL Draft, your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports today. From the games that matter the most, the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. All right, gentlemen, let's move to the Denver Broncos, a team that has been, shall we say, offensively challenged. Is that the best way of saying it? No, the best way of saying it is they've been miserable all year. And it starts at the Russell Wilson position, i.e. the quarterback position. So, Ryan Tracy, we got to fix the Broncos. A, what can we do about Russell Wilson? B, we got to get a quarterback? question mark. Answer to those two might tell us how we're going to fix the Denver Broncos.
Well, you can fix Russell Wilson by treating him like another undersized quarterback to beat the odds, and you give him some help. I actually think that the Denver Broncos should give him the Drew Brees comparison and bring in another quarterback, part B, to be a 1-2, platoon a little bit, get crafty with it. Get a guy that can tuck the ball and run and get some yards with his legs. Maybe a guy who just declared from Florida that we talked about yesterday. Make a pair of quarterbacks that can take some of the pressure off of Russ and diversify how this offense can function.
That, I think, is one question I didn't even ask, and that is Nathaniel Hackett going to end up being the head coach there, Eric, in Denver beyond this year? If he's not, how attractive does that job become, and how much does that fit with Russell Wilson become that much more important to be able to fix this team going forward?
Russell Wilson's going to have to do something he hasn't done in his career and just really figure it out. Because right now, that's not a desirable location for any coach, right? We just saw Deion Sanders go from Jackson State to Colorado, a Colorado team that was, 1-11? I'd rather go to Colorado right now than go coach the Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson and what's going on there. It's been a disaster. You traded away picks, you traded away assets, traded away guys like Fant, like Shelby Harris, guys that were really beneficial to what you were doing and playing on defense. You did bring in a guy like DJ Jones, and I really like him, but the acquisition of DJ Jones alone has not been enough. You got young talent there too. I like Patrick Surtain and what he's doing, one of the great young cornerbacks. He's going to waste right now. They have to figure out the quarterback situation first and foremost, and they can't do it. I just watched the Denver Broncos play a game, and correct me if I'm wrong, did they lose to the backup Baltimore Ravens quarterback?
Yeah, Tyler Huntley. They lost 10-9. 10-9.
I mean, and listen, I can't talk too much. I watched the 49ers lose to the Denver Broncos, but even then, it wasn't because the Broncos were so great. You had a game that was, the 49ers gave up 9 points. Jimmy Garoppolo just happened to run out the back of the end zone, and that ended up being the difference in this game. It's not ideal, and Russell Wilson, I don't know if his confidence is gone. He's definitely not looking like the Mr. Unlimited. Mr. Unlimited. That's not the guy that I've grown to know. Watching him terrorize the 49ers in the NFC West is not a great situation right now. Not anything I'd touch if I was a head coach.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one it's going to be a tough one to fill. Right to that point, Denver does have Miami's pick, which belongs to San Francisco. And it's kind of a long lineage, but basically Denver got it due to the Bradley Chubb pick. So they're sitting right now with San Francisco's pick, which is about in the mid-20s. Mm-hmm. Would you consider Anthony Richardson at that particular spot? Would you consider Will Levis if Levis happened to fall to the Denver Broncos at 25?
I think they both could be in that range. It's a bigger reach for Richardson. But again, if you're trying to treat it, and there is somebody out there, there's probably a couple somebody's out there go, I can fix Russ. I can make this work. Especially if you give me a weapon that can line up with him. I think that might be more attractive knowing what you have invested in Russ. I mean, they have 16 guys that have dead cap money on this team next year. They have 11 million cap space. So you're not bringing in a bunch. I mean, I'd love to play, 5-card check-in poker, and I'll give you 3 of my linemen. I'd like 3 new ones, please. But that's not going to happen. So I think either of those guys are viable. It's whether you can actually bring somebody in that you think needs what? Does Levis need a year? Does he need 2? How far can you get in Russ's contract with him still there and not have another controversy about are you squashing this kid's development? I think Richardson might be a little bit more attractive, but maybe that's a second round option as well.
Eric, don't worry. Your team and my team both lost to Denver in Denver. I mean, we're the exact same team right now. The exact same. I mean, we're 10-1, and the 49ers are 7. What are they? 8-4 now? Are they 8-4? Oh man, I can't even go there. All right, we get back. We're gonna fix the Indianapolis Colts. Now, quarterback just happens to be a theme for these teams that we're talking about. It's gonna come up again with the Indianapolis Colts. I can promise you that, but we're gonna fix them next. But one thing you don't have to fix is betonline.net. That's the perfect website. It's the perfect place to get your sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. And it's for any sport. You got World Cup going on, they got you there. If you got esports, and I know some of you are into esports, they've got that covered. Basketball, soccer. I mean, it's everything that you could possibly want. And you can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. Any one of them. And if you love sports podcasts, which we know you do, because you listen to us, you can find those at BetOnline as well. They're the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, last team that we are going to fix tonight, the Indianapolis Colts. And they do have a first-round pick, unlike 2021 after they traded for DeForest Buckner, and that's been good for them. They probably should have kept the pick and drafted a quarterback, but they did not. Right now, Indianapolis, sitting at 4-8-1, has got the 9th pick in the draft, and it's a sticky spot, I think, because I think 2 quarterbacks will go early, and that leaves you with Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, and a bunch of question marks. Eric Crocker, if you are Chris Ballard and you're still the GM going into 2023, and I hope for Chris's sake he is, we don't know who the coach is going to be. Maybe it's Jim Harbaugh. That's been a lot of rumor. That's been rumored out there. We don't know. We don't know what Jim Irsay will do. But just on the surface, 9th pick overall, how comfortable would you feel with that offensive line? Still has some holes, but you have Jonathan Taylor, and you've got big physical receivers with Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce, with 2 tight ends of Mo Alley Cox and Jelani Woods. How comfortable would you feel dropping Will Levis in the middle of that experiment, Eric Crocker?
You're going to have to do something like that. And listen, there are a lot of people that really like Will Levis. I know statistically it has not been great, but they like the traits. They must like some moxie, his toughness, his grit. There's things about him, his ability. There's things about him that they really like. And I've seen him be as high as, the 4th overall prospect on people's boards. Now, we're going to put our boards together. We're going to figure out where exactly we have him, and we, start to dive into the all 22 and nitpick every little thing that he does. Maybe you might come out thinking, well, who the hell is he playing with? There's nobody else other than the running back Rodriguez in the backfield. So maybe that is an area where, he's not going to go in the first 3 picks. He's someone that works out. Maybe you continue what you're doing with these old washed-up quarterbacks, kind of filtering those guys out in Indianapolis. That hasn't gone the way that you would like. But you have a young guy who can sit behind and is more talented than the backup that you have right now. So I like the thoughts of Levis being able to go to that situation. We have seen that organization, that team be ran well. I'm actually really surprised with how it's gone as of late. Quarterback away from possibly being back in the playoffs, continue to kind of revamp that defense. And we just saw them get obliterated by the Dallas Cowboys. But I think that's kind of a one-off. You get the right coach in place. You continue to build. You draft well. You sign some people. I think they're going to be good. But they have not been able to fully recover from Andrew Luck suddenly retiring on them.
Man, I still can remember we were playing Dallas that night, a preseason game, and seeing that news. I mean, seeing the guys on the sideline, the Texans on the sideline, all look at each other like, what just happened? And they've not really recovered. So I'm going to present this either or to you, Ryan. And Eric, I want you to think on this one too, because I'm going to come back to you with this. Got right now the 9th overall pick. It's relatively high. But I'm going to give you the option of taking Will Levis at number 9 with that pick, or sending that pick to Green Bay for Jordan Love. The Colts have tried every option. Old guys, they've tried, Sam Ellinger. They really haven't tried a rookie, really. It's been Rivers. It's been Ryan. It was Wentz, a young guy coming off an injury they thought maybe would work. None of it's worked. Jordan Love is kind of that way. Well, I think he hasn't even done enough to really get a read for what he could do. But I'm giving you 9th pick, Will Levis from Kentucky for Indianapolis, or trading that pick to Green Bay and getting Jordan Love in return. Ryan, Tracy, either or, take your pick.
I think it comes down to, and I do think Chris is still there at the GM spot. Is the owner step in? Is Jeff Saturday get another year at this? Because if he does, I think it's more attractive to have somebody who's been in a room, who's broken down the film, who understands how to try to win, even though he hasn't been on the field, but he's seen it happen plenty. I think that might be more attractive to a Jeff Saturday-led staff, in trying to acquire Jordan Love. Now, that's not a big exchange. So, like, this is right at the edge where I think somebody could reach for Will Levis. I think you could also trade back further. Maybe Detroit, maybe even Chargers, New England, in that high teen area, and still have a chance at Levis. So, like, I would be more action to open up the doors and see what you can get in trade.
I know right now Houston sits with Cleveland's pick at number 13. I mean, you don't want to get cute. You got to get a quarterback if you're in Houston. I bring them up because I thought, would they trade down from 9 to 13? And maybe the Texans, if they don't take a quarterback at number 1, maybe they move up to number 9 and go get Will Levis. I don't know how they're going to play that. But the Colts got to find a young guy that they can absolutely build with, because Jonathan Taylor, healthy, ends up being as good as anybody. But the offensive line needs some work too. After Anthony Costanzo, it's interesting because Andrew Luck and Anthony Costanzo, those two retirements, the Colts have not rebounded from whatsoever. Eric, I asked the question, Will Levis at 9 or packaging that Indianapolis pick to send to Green Bay for Jordan Love? Which one would you take?
I'd probably have to go with Will Levis. And I really like Jordan Love, but I just can't even justify giving up the 9th overall pick for him with such limited playing time, and you're going to have to immediately re-sign him. And that's the big part of it.
Good point. Yep.
That 9th overall pick is much cheaper than going out trading the 9th overall pick for Jordan and then have Jordan Love and then having to turn around and pay him whatever you'll have to pay him. And we still don't know exactly what he is. Now, we just watched him a couple weeks ago in limited action, and it looked good. And I've always told people, like, dude, give these guys a chance. He has not had, and he still hasn't had the opportunity to start multiple games in a row in the NFL, let alone 3, 4, 5, let alone an entire season to really work on the things that he needs to work on. It's, hey, we got to throw you out there because Aaron Rodgers is going to miss this game because he has a weird toe, and then, got to pull him out. And, all right, you can't work on anything that you messed up on. But, hey, maybe next year, week 7, we might need you again. That's tough to really continue to progress as a passer and really understand, like, what it is you need to work on. But because of that, I'd go with the younger, cheaper option in Will Levis. And he might not even be younger, but he's definitely cheaper.
Yeah, at that point. It's a wildly talented team. I still think they got to figure out the left tackle spot. And the potential OT number 1, Olufashanu, from out of Penn State, decided to go back to Penn State. He would have been a great fit for the Indianapolis Colts there at number 9 if they indeed could find a way to get a quarterback into that building and could put a pick on a non-quarterback position. But he's going back. So maybe a Skoronski from out of Northwestern, maybe a Paris Johnson Jr. They got to figure out that left tackle position. They did draft Bernard Raymond from out of Central Michigan last year. He's still a project. I think they need a little bit more ready-made prospect to play at that left tackle spot. Figure that out. Figure out the quarterback spot. And I think the Colts could be right back in this thing because the rest of the squad is incredibly, incredibly talented. But they better get those two right or they're going to sit back at, look at being in a year in which they're top 10 again in 2024. I'd like for them to be there. I'd like for them to continue to lose. Sorry, Colts fans. That's what I want from you. I just want to make sure that you lose more than we do in Houston, but we'll see what ends up happening there. All right. We fixed the Seahawks. We fixed the Broncos. We fixed the Colts. We'll do 3 more teams next week right here on Locked On NFL Draft. And we thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. Gentlemen, great job. For Eric, for Ryan, I'm John. We'll see you next time right here on Locked On NFL Draft. Let's go.